So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Doing a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and tonight I'm joined by Dan Brookylyn. He's a musician from the Netherlands, and he has an upcoming album coming out on December 1st. And the album's called The Great Beast, and it's all about Aleister Crowley, who on that day, I think it is the 75th anniversary of his death. So, first of all, Dan, how are you tonight?
Good evening, or good day in your case. Thank you for having me. I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. So I was listening to your upcoming album, and I like the imagery and everything associated to Aleister Crowley because I always thought Aleister Crowley was an interesting guy. Obviously, the first time I heard the name was, I think everyone, us, everyone, a lot of people with Ozzy Osbourne and the Mr. Crowley song that actually it's on your album. That's the last song that finishes the album.
Yeah, that's true. We covered that song. I wasn't sure because it has been done before by Cradle of Filth, by Moonspell, and a bunch of other great musicians. So I thought to myself, am I doing this? And then I said, okay, this is a concept album about Aleister Crowley. We have to do this. We have no choice. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I think we can say that we succeeded in doing something different than all the others have done this far. So yeah, that's the last song on the album. And like you said, the album is coming out on December 1st, which is Crowley's 75th death anniversary. So I thought it was a good time to release. I thought it was a good time to, this story has been told uh, quite some times already in many different forms, in movies, documentaries, music, of course. Um, but I don't think it has ever been told in this fashion. So I thought to myself, okay, the 75th death anniversary year, it's a good time to basically uh, introduce people that don't know that much about Aleister Crowley to this man, and the man, the myth, the legend, um, but also kind of this boogeyman at the same time. So yeah, I thought it was a good time to unleash this story, this beast upon the world. So yeah.
So how did you get into Aleister Crowley growing up?
Um, well, like you mentioned, I think it must have had to do something with Ozzy Osbourne. But actually, Crowley popped up in two ways when I was growing up. I obviously from an early age, when I was in primary school, I got into heavy music, and you can actually study metal music as a degree here in the Netherlands, which is
That's fucking awesome.
rare. Yeah, it's super awesome. I think we are the only ones in the world that are actually doing that. Um, so from an early age, I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and so I applied, I auditioned, and they accepted me. um, so yeah, Aleister Crowley popped up in many ways when studying heavy music. Whenever it is Ozzy Osbourne or Led Zeppelin or David Bowie or Marilyn Manson, who is obviously very much inspired by David Bowie, to Fields of the Nephilim, Dimmu Borgir, Behemoth, which is a very big band now. Crowley pops up everywhere and is mentioned and is quoted in all of these works. So he pops up in pop culture, in heavy metal music, quite a lot. And then there is also this connection that I had to spirituality from a very early age. And once you start studying Western esotericism or occultism or spirituality or whatever you want to call it, Aleister Crowley is definitely this head figure that also pops up everywhere when you study that. So it's basically these two camps that introduced me to Crowley.
Oh yeah, it's interesting, and I remember reading years ago the Book of the Law, like years ago. I'm not sure if I really understood it, but I remember reading it like years ago, just because of the occultism and the fascination with that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you read all of the books that he's put out and followed him. So like you said, he's popped up in different songs in metal and rock, but I don't think there's ever been like a full concept album dedicated to his life, which is what you're doing in this album.
Yeah, I don't think so either. You have this album by well, you have this album called To Mega Therion by what is the band? The band escapes me right now. That's really bad. But yeah, I think you're right. I tried to research it, and I don't think anyone has done this in this fashion until now. So that's why I felt confident to this story never gets old, and it can be told in many shapes and forms. But I don't think it really has been done in the way I did. So yeah, I basically what I tried to do with this album, I already touched on this, like many okay, so Aleister Crowley is when he was alive, he was highly misunderstood. I mean, he was born in 1875, he died in 1947. And he was basically promoting, sex magic, recreational drug use. He dabbled in what some people might call black magic. It's this very libertine persona. He was openly bisexual in a time where this was, illegal. So he's this very libertine person
It's
in
time.
many ways.
Yeah, he
Absolutely.
was he
And
was ahead of his time. Yeah.
he was really misunderstood. Absolutely. He was ahead of his time, and he was really misunderstood. He was slaughtered by British tabloids. He was slaughtered in court. And they called him the wickedest man in the world. And decennia after his death in the 60s and the 70s, when this counterculture came up, people rediscovered his books, and they were like, "Oh my God, this guy was ahead of his time. He was already doing what we are doing now."
I
So
just think that people are afraid of what they don't understand. And obviously back then, being people so conservative, it was like something real shocking. But yeah, being called the wickedest man, there's been people that murdered
absolutely.
civilizations. And you're saying that a guy that just dabbled in some magic and had sex with a lot of people is evil? Come on.
Yeah, well, he definitely had his shadow side. I mean, the wickedest
Yeah,
man in the world. I definitely don't agree on that. As we have people like Adolf Hitler and guys like that. But
correct. Yeah.
Crowley definitely had his shadow side. So this darker side to him, this uh, self-centered, you know, mean, degrading, childish sometimes. So basically, what I wanted to do with this album is, I noticed that a lot of these counterculture icons, they put him on a pedestal, and rightfully so. I mean, Crowley was a free thinker, a pioneer, um, and some might argue that he even foresaw uh, the libertine age of horrors, the age of Aquarius that was about to happen. At the same time, what I also want to do with this album is I kind of want to show people a mirror and say, okay, is this a person that we want to be put on a pedestal? As this was also someone that encouraged his followers to indulge in self-mutilation, in bestiality. Even at some point, he used to feed them psychedelics and lock his followers into this bedroom that he had, and he had covered the walls of the bedroom in all of these murals, all of these freaky paintings. And I can imagine that when you're locked up in there and you're on something psychedelic, that these pictures, these murals, they must come to life, and it must be terrifying. So these are all things that kind of make you question, okay, is this someone that we should celebrate or not? He encouraged his followers to make little cuts in their arms every time they used the word "I" in a sentence, because he wanted to kill their ego. Only he was to use the word "I" in a sentence.
Yeah, I think he
So
had the biggest ego.
absolutely, yeah. So the main theme, the main concept behind the album is, okay, is this someone that deserves to be celebrated or not? I mean, was he this egocentrical sex addict, or was he really the pioneer, the prophet? And I think it was both, honestly.
Yeah, what you're doing in the album is not glorifying him. Just you're saying the good things with the bad things in this concept.
Yeah, and there's definitely some tongue-in-cheek stuff in there. As I use the phrase "the wickedest man in the world." I use it all the time. Um, but yeah, it's, I always think art should be a question mark. So people should listen to the album or watch the videos, and they should decide for themselves. I think I don't want to
Yeah, of course.
push my opinion in people their faces. So yeah.
So musically, the album, I heard a lot of influences from bands like Marilyn Manson, Rammstein, just to name a few. Like there's like some type of industrial with goth appeal to the album. What bands influenced the sound of Dan Brookylyn?
Well, I think it's definitely the two that you just mentioned.
I hit the nail in the coffin.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think this album would have sounded the same without their influence. They were very important to me as a musician, also as a human being. I guess I was always from an early age, I was drawn to this theatrical, over the top, shock rocking stuff. As I'm a big Alice Cooper fanatic as well. Um, Rob Zombie, obviously. So yeah, it's there's definitely those are definitely names that come to mind. Um, let's see what else. Um,
Yeah, no, I
as
thought those bands sounded, yeah, that you had influence by them, and also with the occult themes and everything. And the album cover is pretty cool. I'm gonna show the album cover here. So, what was the idea that you were trying to convey with this album cover?
Well, thank you, first of all.
Mhm.
What I okay, so I never thought of myself doing a concept album, honestly, because I don't really listen to that much um, concept albums. I mean, I obviously love Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare, for instance. Some people might argue that Manson's Antichrist Superstar is also a concept album.
And also Mechanical Animals, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But other than that, I don't really listen to a lot of storytelling albums, so to speak. So I never thought I would make a concept album. So the idea for this album started with just one song, which is entitled "The Great Beast" as well. It's the title track. And as I started writing this song, I kind of had this vision of taking two of well, I don't want to say that these are two of his most famous paintings, but they're definitely, when you see this picture of him, you know this is
Yeah.
Aleister Crowley. And I think if you mention the name Aleister Crowley, people think of this picture. So I was writing this song and I came up with this idea for a video. And my idea was basically to bring these two pictures to life and actually sing the video with that, scenery around me in that costume, with the book, with the hands. The other picture is one where he's posed against the wall, and you can actually see the shadow. You can see his shadow on the wall behind him. So we integrated those two pictures in the video, and I thought to myself, this needs to be the album cover as well, just because it's so.
It really represents him. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was kind of surprised that Ghost, they released an album in the beginning of this year, which
Oh
has
yeah,
a
a
lead
great album.
single called absolutely
Yeah.
a lead single called "Call Me Little Sunshine," which is an Aleister Crowley quote. And when you look at their album cover, you can also see the Papa Emeritus sitting
Yeah.
like this. So you see the influence there. But I had no idea they were going for that as well. Actually, this picture was taken long before that Ghost album came out. So
Oh yeah, but it looks different, than
yeah,
the Ghost
it
cover.
does. And I'm not sure whether they thought to themselves, okay, why don't we it's the 75th anniversary. I'm not sure whether they were aware or not.
Well, that's
But
good for you because
yeah, it's yeah, absolutely. It's this Crowley themed year, and yeah, I think it's great that people are still telling this story, because I think he's still very prominent in pop culture as we know it. And I even think that pop culture as we know it wouldn't have been the same without Aleister Crowley. So, I might be critic towards him in this album, but I definitely think he was that free thinker, that pioneer. And sometimes there's points in history where you just need this person, this controversial figure, to kind of shake things up a bit, to go against the grain, to go against what everyone else is doing. And that's exactly who he was and what he did. So that deserves to be celebrated. Yeah.
yeah. So the single that you choose was "The Mass of the Phoenix." Why
Yes.
did you choose that song for the single?
Um, I think it's one of I think it's my favorite track of the record. Um, and Okay, so I just told you about this video where I kind of
Mhm.
tried to make this legendary picture come to life. So the initial idea was to do this video for The Great Beast, the song. And we were listening to the songs that we had completed already, because we kind of completed the album in 2 sections. And we thought to ourselves, okay, the Great Beast, it's definitely a cool song, but it's not near as cinematic as the Mass of the Phoenix. It's a bit slower. It has this really clear climax that it's building
Yeah.
towards too.
Plus, it's
So
talking about like a ritual that he used to do.
Yeah,
In the
absolutely.
song.
The,
Yeah.
the Mass of the Phoenix, it's this one person ritual, and it's controversial because the practitioner is expected to make a cut on their chest. And it's also controversial because of the consuming of the cake of light, which is this wafer made out of meal, honey, oil, but also blood and bodily fluids. And the practitioner is expected to consume that, and they are expected to make a cut in their chest.
Yeah,
So for
that's
this,
pretty extreme.
it is pretty extreme, and I personally don't think you need to indulge in self-mutilation or blood offerings in order to be spiritual. So I kind of wanted to show that to people in the video. So yeah, I was talking to my video guy, and we were like, okay, what song should we pick? And he was like, we should definitely go for the Mess of the Phoenix, just because it's the most theatrical cinematic song. And I'm really glad we did the video for that, and I'm really glad we picked it as the lead single. But yeah, I can't take credit for any of the lyrics on that song, because I basically took the ritual that
And you made it
Crowley.
into a song. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, he published it in 1913,
The
which
good
is,
thing is that since he's dead, he can sue you.
well, honestly, that's funny that you mentioned that, because uh, I made this album with my good friend Caleb Bingham. He used to play in Five Finger Death Punch, and I also play in another band called Athanasia with him. And we made the record by the two of us. And so I basically took the words of this ritual and I put them to music. And the only adjustments I made were the rhyme schemes, basically, because those were changing. So in one part it would be A B A B, and then you would switch it around in another part. So I thought to myself, okay, we will adjust that. But for the outro, it has this outro, um, and I wanted to keep the original rhyme scheme. And I was having this discussion with Caleb about that, and he was like, "Yeah, well, Crowley in general, he shouldn't be switching in between these rhyme schemes all the time. He is a shit poet," is what Caleb said. And the moments, well, he had said it, and shortly after that, all of these technical problems occurred that we had no explanation
Oh
for.
shit. Yeah.
And we were joking, like, dude, you shouldn't have said that, because because he's coming to get us now. He's messing with our equipment. So yeah, he might not be able to sue me, but he might still be
He might
able to
haunt
do
you.
some other things. Who knows?
So Dan, when it's time to, will you take this on the road and perform this album live?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, we are working on that right now as we speak. Um, but it's kind of a weird time, honestly, because well, obviously we dealt with this pandemic. We bands weren't able to perform; they weren't able to tour. Um, I used that time to make this record, but we're still dealing with the aftermath of that pandemic. There's also this huge inflation going on, which just makes it really hard and really expensive to tour. you have this thing called tour buy-ons, where a main act basically asks the support act to pay them an amount of money to share the stage with them, and that
Yeah.
system has been around for many years, and we got adjusted to that. But both the buy-ons and the pricing of nightliners, of tour buses, and gasoline and all of that is just going through the roof right now. So we are looking for touring opportunities, and I'm sure when the time is right, the right opportunity will come up, and we will unleash the beast live. I'm very much looking forward to that, because I really am a performer. I'm not too much of a studio guy, so yeah, I can't wait to take this on the road and to perform these songs live, and that's definitely I'm something I'm looking forward to working towards too, and yeah, soon, soon,
Yeah.
definitely.
You know, I thought I was pretty chilled and mellow, but man, you're so zen. You look so serene, and like you're like, yeah, man. Like you remind me of. Did you ever see the movie Point Break, the original
I
one?
I have not. I'm ashamed to say. I should write
With
that one down.
the Patrick Swayze character, he's like the main Bodhi, the surfer guy. He's all zen or shield. Like he reminds me of you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. You are very chill as well. I'm not sure whether you are on a couch right now, but you are
No,
definitely a chill dude.
yo, when I do the album reviews, I do them on a couch. But like I can do an interview on a couch.
I
It's
was
I would fall asleep.
I was thinking the same. So that's why I'm here with my candles and my sarcophaguses in the back. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So is this for you? Is Dan Brooklyn like one album, or would you like to, or will you go back to your other band and sometime later in the future do more albums for Dan Brooklyn? And obviously, would you talk about something else, or will you stick with the Aleister Crowley themes?
Um, that is a very good question. I definitely have plans and ideas for future albums. Absolutely. I don't think those necessarily will be Aleister Crowley themed, although this man has, you know, he has made so much work, and he has played so much roles throughout his life, whether it was poet, painter, prophet, mountaineer, um, chess master, undercover spy. It's almost stranger than fiction, and he has made so much work. He has written so much books that you can definitely fill a whole discography with Aleister Crowley. But as I don't think I will do that. Maybe there will be more Crowley songs. Who knows? But I will. I think I'll definitely stick to the occult theme, because that has been such a big part of my life. Actually, the name Dan Brookylyn is derived from one of my very first supernatural experiences. So I will definitely stick to that theme in the future, I guess. But
That's interesting. I'm curious. How does Dan Brooklyn? What's the story behind that? Because that sounds very interesting.
well, let's see. I When I was a kid in primary school, I at some point discovered that I was able to see uh, people, spirits, ghosts, souls, whatever you want to call them, that some others couldn't. And I also noticed that I was able to pick up on emotions and feelings of others that other people didn't really have that. And I was very fortunate to have someone in my life that um, also had that ability, and she kind of she coached me in how to deal with all of this, all of these energies, all of these entities. And I remember the both of us going to my elderly home um, to kind of check out the house, the energies there. I remember being really scared of the bathroom, uh, especially the shower. We had two bathrooms, um, and the downstairs one was just fine, and the upstairs one was really creepy for some reason. So I think that was the main reason we went to my house to kind of see what was up. Um, and I remember being in my parents' bedroom with her because we were kind of making a tour of the house, just checking every room. And all of a sudden, this white shape uh, appeared in my parents' bedroom. And this lady, she asked me, "Who do you think this is?" And I didn't really think about it. I just thought to myself, I'm pretty sure this is my uncle. Um, my uncle unfortunately passed away before I was born. So it must have been a weird time for my parents as well because they were grieving, obviously, but they also probably had this joy, this new baby coming, this new life coming. So it must have been a weird time for them as well. And I told the lady, I think this is my uncle in the room here with us. And she's like, "Yep, that's definitely him." And that is one of the first experiences I had with
And what's his name? Dan Brookylyn?
his name was, well, my real name is Dan van Breukelen, and
Ah,
his name was Rob van Breukelen, but he used to be a DJ. And this was a
oh,
time where, nowadays DJs bring USB sticks and they plug it in and they have the party. But back
it's
then,
easier. Back then, you had to take
the
the
road
vinyl and
cases,
scratching. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So he took all the road cases with him, with all the vinyls, and he spray painted Brooklyn on there. So, which, because Brooklyn, the American Brooklyn in New York,
Yeah.
is derived from the Dutch city of Breukelen. So that's where the name Dan Brookylyn came from. It's kind of a tribute to him, to that experience, and it was a beautiful experience. There have been uh, less pleasant experiences as well,
I'm
but
I'm sure. Uh,
most of them have been really, really
yeah.
beautiful, and I'm grateful to have witnessed them. They shaped me as a person. They shaped this interest of mine. So yeah, that's the name. It's a tribute to all of that.
Yeah, that's a great story and interesting. And Dan, if I ever go to your country, I'm not going to your parents' house.
Well, my parents' house is all serenity, honestly, but my dad still lives there. My mom, she moved, not because of anything occult, but honestly, uh, that upstairs bathroom I told you about, it's all fine now. I don't know exactly what changed. I have some theories, but it's total serenity in that house right now. It's a good house. So the
Nice.
door is always open. If you come
I'll,
here,
I'll, I'll,
you're more
I'll,
than welcome.
I'll go if I'm over there, and we'll talk more about occult things because very interesting. Not every artist likes to talk about occult, so it's interesting. And the concept album, it's when people think concept album, they think it's something like really serious, but like you said, there's like tongue in cheek in the album, and it's a pretty like fast pace, like I would say like industrial goth type of album. So for people who
Absolutely.
like Marilyn Manson, Rammstein, I think Dan Brookylyn will be right up their alley. And if you want to know more about Aleister Crowley, you can read the lyrics and maybe uh, get into that stuff, or read more about it. So Dan, I want to thank you for taking some time to talk with me about the upcoming album. So it's coming. The Great Feast is coming on December 1st, the 75th anniversary of Aleister Crowley's death. So check it out when it comes out, and you can stream the single on Spotify and everywhere. And I'll put links so people can pre-order the album. Okay.
Thank you so much. There's
Yeah.
actually a second single coming on Halloween this Monday with a
Nice.
video. So yeah,
What's
check it out.
what's the song that's coming out on Halloween?
It's called the Midnight Flower Unfurled, and
Nice.
people have been asking me about the meaning of the midnight flower, and I'll leave that up to themselves. But is it sexual? Maybe.
You'll find
That's all I'll
out.
say.
So I'll have to post this video for October 31st because
As if you want to,
yeah, I
feel
think
welcome
it's
to,
the
absolutely.
theme of the occult. One better time than to see this this interview on October 31st. So people check out Dan Brookylyn, and until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield on a Couch, and I'll see you
Thank
right
you.
here on the couch.
Thank you for
you
having me.
and good night. You're welcome, Matt.